Today we're going to look at Electric Blue, our new electric guitar library for Kontakt, based on the legendary Les Paul. Our goal with Electric Blue was to create a well-rounded recreation of this guitar, not limited to a particular style, but capable of producing a wide range of sounds that the Paul was famous for. That's a tall order for sure, but let's see how we've done. Electric Blue loads up with a clean sound. We also have preset instruments to choose from, or if you install the included snapshots, that's even easier. There are two main modes, solo and strum. We'll start with solo, which is just the normal playing mode. First off, we recorded both pickups individually, but at the same time, so our pickup switch behaves just as it should. Here's the neck pickup, neck and bridge pickups. This button flips the phase of the bridge pickup for a completely different sound. The bridge pickup. And stereo, where the neck and bridge pickups are panned hard left and hard right. Some people actually mod their guitars for stereo, and it's an amazing sound. This button gives you control over which strings you're hearing across the keyboard range. This lets you simulate different guitar playing positions and has a dramatic effect on the sound. There are presets you can choose. Here's open strings. And one we call jazz, which is played higher on the neck. It's like completely different guitars. These dials control the split points. You can create your own preset and save it. Next, let's look at the key velocity articulation controls. This is the current generation of the simple system we've been using for most of our libraries. You can control articulations using key velocity, key switches, or both at the same time. There are 3 velocity zones for assigning articulations, and you can set the split points with these sliders. On this side, you just click on the current articulations set for any zone and choose whichever you want. For instance, here we have mutes at low velocities, slides for high velocities, and sustains in the middle. This dial lets you adjust the volume of the high-velocity articulation to make up for having to play harder to trigger it. You've already heard the slides. There are hammer-ons. By the way, some of these articulations are timed to sync with your project, and you can set the note resolutions here in the settings. Also, the intervals used for the articulations will depend on the master key that you selected down here. There's pull-offs, grace note up slides. These are timed like hammer-ons, only with slides. Grace note down slides. Up trills. Down trills. And there's the mutes we've already heard since they're assigned to the low velocity zone. Harmonics. An upward bend. And an up and down momentary bend. Auto harmony has been a popular feature in our libraries, and it's here with Electric Blue. This button latches the harmony on, or you can use a key switch. You can use the auto harmony with other articulations. Choose from several styles, and you can add a delay to simulate playing 2 strings at once. Of course, the harmonies will depend on where your master key is set. Also down here is auto vibrato. You can also use the mod wheel for vibrato, or disable that in the settings. Now, let's look at strum mode. To hear a strumming pattern, just play a key in the first octave, C1 to B1. Whenever you play a note, you will hear the chord assigned to that root note. In this case, G is G major, E is E minor, and so on. To stop a pattern, play a note in the next octave for a down strum, or the third octave for an up strum. You can also play a live pattern with these manual strums. These 9 buttons each contain a pattern, and they can be selected with key switches. Each button has a menu where you can assign any of the 50 patterns in the master list to any button. This button toggles between the pattern buttons and the pattern edit screen. Editing and creating patterns is easy. Pulling up from the center of this graph gives you a down strum, and pulling down gives you an up strum. Velocity increases the farther you pull from the center. To let a single strum sustain, just zero out the steps after it. A mute step will silence a sustain strum and play a muted strum. Accent plays a staccato strum. Here is where you set the length of the pattern. There are several other controls for tweaking the sound of the pattern, and they are described in detail in the user guide, which you'll find in the documentation folder in your Electric Blue library folder. Or you can download the user guide now in the product page if you'd just like to check it out. When you're done editing or creating your strum pattern, use this menu to name and save it. Now let's look at how chords are selected and edited. Hit the Chords button. Now, if you play any pattern or single strum root note, you will see the chord variation assigned to that note. Let's say I'd like a D suspended instead of a D major. Just use the menu to change the chord. Now, every time I play a D note, I'll get a D suspended. You can also change chord variations using key switches. And again, there are more details in the user guide. When the Auto Select Chords button is on, the script will select chords based on the key chosen with the master key slider. Press the power chord button once and you get 2-note power chords. Press it twice, you get 3-note power chords. And on the third press, you get 3-note chords on the high strings, which is great for funkier rhythms. All right, we'll set the chords back to G. Now here's the best part. You are not limited to the preset chords or limited to which notes trigger any chord. You can create any chord possible on a guitar, and even impossible to play chords. To change a chord voicing, just click and drag the note on the fretboard. Now whenever you play a G, you get your edited chord. X will silence a string. You can reset the chord back to the original. This little triangle is the capo, by the way, an easy way to change key in a sequence, and it can be controlled by key switches. The Show Tuning button opens the Drop Tuning option. There are presets for drops C and D, and you can customize your own tunings. This button is on by default, and it activates the chord recognition system. When it's off, the chord variation switches are active. Again, more about this in the user guide, but let's turn chord recognition back on. When you play a chord in these upper octaves, the script will translate that chord to guitar chords. Keep in mind that the script is working hard to do all of this, and you have to work with it just a bit. Play your chord changes just a little ahead of the beat and lift your fingers off the keys between changes. It takes a bit of practice, but you'll get the feel of it quickly. There are controls for manual down and up strums. Dynamic strings varies the number of strings sounding depending on key velocity, so soft strums play only the low notes. Mutes gives you muted strums at low velocities. Okay, back to settings, and there again are the controls for the articulations. Here are some global controls. You can defeat the mod wheel to vibrato connection here, if you need to use the mod wheel for something else, like maybe expression or a wah-wah effect. We'll look at the effects panel in a moment. And you can customize the articulation key switches here. The button at the very bottom of the window will open the built-in effects panel. Electric Blue was recorded direct, so if you would rather use a separate effects plugin, you can just choose Bypass All in the preset menu. And there are plenty of presets to get you going. This is pretty standard stuff, and most of you will be familiar with these effects and controls. You can choose a distortion unit here, and a power amp here. And here's that wah-wah unit. Set the MIDI CC to 1 for mod wheel control. Back when we were building our Generation electric guitar library, we approached our friends at Titan Recording in Seattle about recording custom profiles of several classic amp and speaker combinations, and they really delivered. Here you can select from different amp heads and cabinets, and close and room mics. Well, thank you for watching all the way to the end and for considering our Electric Blue. Electric Blue is available only at Indiginus.com.